جاهز.
السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته.
السلام ورحمة الله وبركاته. The Sheikh is making dua. Ask Allah to accept. Ameen. We're still continuing talking about the understanding of the leadership, the minor one. And we talked about last two lectures. And I would like to remind you, if you weren't with us, that the difference between the minor leadership and the major one, that the minor one, it is the leadership of the prayers. But the other one is the leadership of the authority. That the major leadership, it is a representation of the prophethood in protecting and guarding the religion and to implementing it. So if someone came with innovation, they will show him the rights as the leadership. So the religion will always be protected. And I would like to always repeat this in every topic about the understanding of the minor leadership, so we could understand the major one. Even though if it is not present, it does not mean that our conscience is not aware of it. We should always understand it, and we ask Allah Azza wa Jal to bring us back to be together, inshallah. And from among the things that we talk about in this minor leadership is the leadership of the one who is traveling to the one who is staying, the resident. It is correct. Ibn Qudama in the Mughni, he said that the scholars agreed that if the one who is traveling and he shortened his prayers, if he made his salam after 2 rak'ahs, then he say complete to yourselves because we are on traveling. And Ash-Shafi'i, he emphasized in a beautiful meaning that he says this to teach people and to make them understand. If he knew those who are behind him and they know the rule, he don't have to tell them to continue their prayer. And Umar ibn Khattab said that if he comes to Mecca, he will pray 2 rak'ahs and he say, oh people of Mecca, complete your prayers because we are people on traveling. We are traveling. We are travelers. So the residents, if he pray behind the travelers, the Dhuhr for example, or Asr, or Isha, then he need to complete his prayer to be 4 rak'ahs. But if the resident is, if he doing it for the fulfill the like if someone is there is he already had the Dhuhr prayer and he already finished, but he saw some travelers and he wants to make it a jama'ah, then he can. For him it is a sunnah, for them it is obligatory, for the traveler it's obligatory, so it is okay, and he can pray only 2 rak'ahs because he is not praying the obligatory prayer. He's praying voluntarily to make sure the travelers are getting the congregation. Now the question here, who is supposed to lead the prayer? Is the traveler or the one who is the resident? If the traveler is the general ruler, he take any other leadership beyond him. Like Umar ibn Khattab, when he went to Mecca, he was traveling and he prayed and he asked them to continue their prayers. Because Umar, he is the Imam, he is the prince of the believers. And he is the one who is always leading, whether he is traveling or residing in any place. If it's not like that, then the priority should be for the resident. Why? Because people is going to pray 4 rak'ahs following the Imam instead of 2. Instead of 2 rak'ahs as in jama'ah, in congregation, in group, and the other 2 individually. Of course, the group over in its reward than the individual. So it is better to have all 4. So that's why the residents should lead the prayer than the travelers. Like sometimes the travelers will pray 4, he don't shorten. Sometimes he don't understand, will cause a problem. Sometimes that the Imam shorten the prayer and fitna will come in, who don't know when to shorten the prayer. They say this is an innovative person and he is praying up to his self. We all know that Salah is 4. Where did you come with this to? And the foolish people will come up with this saying, oh, this is not. So the traveler might do it thinking this is important to teach people. Or he might not pray the sujood at-tilawa if he fears those who behind him don't understand the sujood of the tilawa, meaning like if the Imam is reciting a verse that require you to prostrate to Allah Azza wa during the prayer, and it happened in England. They said, oh, this Maghrib became 4 rak'ahs because they consider that one is an extra rak'ah, and a fitna happened at that place. But so if you understand, these people don't understand all the rules of the prayers, don't understand the rules of the then you need to, it is better to protect the people. It is always better for the traveler to shorten the prayers. And I told you several times that the shortening is a sunnah, but to combine it is something that depends on the situation. For the traveler, he need to make it shorten, but it's not for the traveler to combine. To combine it is permissible whenever he needs it. That's why when we make the Hajj, when we do the pilgrimage, we make the combination in Arafah and Muzdalifah only, Dhuhr and Asr. In Arafah and Maghrib and Isha and Muzdalifah, and the rest is in its time, with shorten it with no combination. We stay in Mina 3 days and we shorten the prayer, does not combine it. That does not mean it is not permissible. It is permissible, but it is not, the priority is not to do it. If you sit in, there's no need to combine, then it is better for you to do the prayer in its time. Ameen. Ameen. Now, if we reverse the issue, we pray in our masjid, and we are, and the travelers came in and they prayed behind us. Welcome. The prayer is good, but they need to fulfill their prayers, because if they're following the imam, they have to do what he says. They cannot stop in two and they say we are traveling and we need to shorten and to leave the imam. This is not allowed. Even if they had only one rak'ah, or if you come in the last tashahhud, then get in the jama'ah except the tashahhud, then he need to bring it to 4, not shorten, because he is following the imam. Because Ibn Abbas said in the hadith of Musa ibn Salama, he said, we used to be with Ibn Abbas in Mecca, and we said, if we are with you, we pray 4. If we go back to our places, we pray 2 rak'ahs. So if we are following those who are risen, we pray 4 like them. But if we go back to our places, we pray 2. If it is, if we shorten the prayers. And he said this is the sunnah of the Prophet ﷺ. And Umar, if he prayed with after the Imam, he pray 4. If he did it by himself, he prayed 2 rak'ahs. Al-Hafiz ibn Abd al-Barr said, a lot of scholars, they agreed that the traveler, if he prayed behind a resident and he reached 1 rak'ah, then he need to pray 4, not to shorten it. And because the general rule that we all have to follow the leader. The leader is there to be followed. There's a difference between doing the prayer on time and not on time. If someone finds the people are praying dhuhr, they're praying dhuhr, and he remembered, and he did not pray the dhuhr yesterday, for whatever reason, he was tired traveling, and he forgot to pray dhuhr yesterday, then he will enter with the imam for the intention of praying the previous prayer. So the one that he have to fulfill, that he have to make up, he has to do it first, and then he will do the one that's on you. And the leadership of the person who is redoing his salah from yesterday. And the example, if someone who did not pray dhuhr yesterday, and he prayed, and he is praying, and he for doing the dhuhr of yesterday, somebody came to pray the dhuhr of today, it is acceptable. Both of them are acceptable, and there is no harm in that. How about the one who have praying the obligatory prayer, the leadership of the one who is praying obligatory prayer to the one who is doing nafil? It is no doubt, there is no problem. The Prophet ﷺ said, he said, can't anyone, he saw a man praying by himself. He said, anybody could do charity to this man? A man came to the masjid after the congregation is finished. If he did not, he missed the congregation. So the Prophet ﷺ, who is merciful to his companions, to those who follow him, he said, can't anyone make charity or make a charity to this man and pray with him? So the person who can pray the Jama'ah and then make another one. The Prophet ﷺ, he prayed Fajr, and he saw 2 people sitting there, and they said, oh, we prayed by ourselves. We found people, we already prayed. So we sat down, waiting. He said, if you prayed in your places and you came to the masjid of the congregation, then pray with them because it is an extra prayer for you. And said, so the person who is the leadership of the one who is praying the obligatory prayers to lead it to those who are not, it is acceptable for both. One of the companions, he used to pray al-Isha with the Prophet ﷺ, then he will go back to his tribe and pray Mu'adh. When he prayed with the Prophet ﷺ, it was his obligatory part. But then he will go back to his people and he will pray the nafila as an extra prayer for himself, but it was the obligatory part for his family, for his tribe, or for those who were waiting for him to lead the prayer. And the Prophet ﷺ did not say anything when he found out about it. He agreed to it. And with the occasion of the prayer of the one who's traveling, the traveler, there is an important issue in this masjid. We talked about it several times, over and over, several times. But some brothers of us, they always make us repeat about this subject because people in this masjid, they always change. There's different people every time. Because those who heard the verdict last time did not hear it today. So they want to always to remind people about this issue, about the shortening the prayer, and when do you combine for those who are sent from their homes and they're coming here for, they are students, and he's gonna be here for 4 years. And if he has extra effort, he will do magister and PhD. That's 8 terms, and he keeps saying that he is a traveler and that he wants to shorten the prayers, even if he stayed there 12 years. He considers himself traveling. He did not intend to reside. I don't have a green card. I don't have permanent residency. I don't get the citizenship and become an American where I'll stay here in this place. I'm still consider myself I'm a guest. I must stay 3 days or 3 years or 3 centuries. He considered himself a traveler because he considered himself he did not intend to stay or reside. What is the difference between residing forever and temporary residing here? The other one, you are just here, you want to stay here, you're not replacing home, it's just stay here and you don't want to leave. So it doesn't, it's not have to do with any program or any work or any, no, you like this place, you want to stay here. Good city, nice community, no politics, nothing, I'm very happy here. This is the absolute residency, and this is different between that and residency. They say, since we did not decide to do any of these two, so we consider ourselves travelers. And that's mean for them that they want to shorten their prayer and they don't have to, and they can combine the prayers and they don't have to go to any masjid or to go to any Jum'ah because he can't hear the adhan and there's no Jum'ah for those who are traveling. And another one, as Ramadan, we have to talk about it. I'm traveling because Allah said whomever is sick or traveling, he can replace it some other days. So no more Ramadan and summer, let me, because I'm traveling, I will do it in winter. All of this logic the Sheikh is saying is what the other literate people are saying, not the view of Islam. Of course, this is something uh, some people really are using, and they are getting some scholars or misusing the verdict of some scholars. So, how can we enlighten them in this matter? First of all, this fatwa is for Sheikh Ibn Uthaymeen, may Allah have mercy on his soul, and he's among the best of scholars that a lot of people benefit from his knowledge. Place, east, west, every place. And he have a lot of books written and written, listened to, and the Sheikh is asking Allah Azza wa Jal to put it in his good deed in the day of judgment. Ameen. Ameen. The fatwa that is attributed to him, first of all, the distance, there is no distance for traveling. The traveling, it is something that it depends from one place. The Allah did not limit it to any time or distance. So anything is known to be traveling, that is traveling, that you could shorten and compile the prayers. And just like traveling is, it is absolute when it is in the time and the distance. So there's no limit when you consider that as traveling. So you leave it to whatever Allah. So whatever is called traveling, so it is traveling. Even if you go from here to Galveston, which is about 45, but is everyone considered traveling? No. Some people do it, some don't. Whomever considered traveling, then he can shorten and combine. And those who didn't, they should not. At the time, there is no restriction from Allah. Just say 10, 5, 10, 11, or 21. All these numbers are numbers from the scholars, by the way. Because the majority, they say the maximum time for traveling that you travel is 4 days or less. So if you stay in a place more than 4 days, then you don't combine and shorten the prayers. The Prophet ﷺ stayed in Mecca before Hajj, and that's 4 days. He intended to stay. His intention was to stay. If he stayed like that, then he can shorten it and combine it like he did. Some people said, no, let's make it 10 days. Why? He added the time of Hajj. Because they consider the whole day times of Hajj is 10 days. So 10 days of result, which is the total time that he resided in Mecca in Hajj. Ibn Abbas, he sees that it might extend to 19 days, and that's how long the Prophet ﷺ stayed at the day of Fath of Mecca, 19 days in Mecca, while he was shortening the prayers. It is the maximum that is known to the Prophet ﷺ shortening the prayers. And some said, no, this 21, because he alayhi salatu wasalam, he stayed in a battle, and he was shortening the prayers at that time. So those who put restriction on it is from 4, 10, 19, 21. But what is the majority of the scholars said? The majority of the scholars that whomever intended to stay more than 4 days, then he is not a traveler. Where did this come from? So we do not think that our scholars they just made it. They think how the scholars put this Christian when the Prophet ﷺ did different. No, of course, they will not do that. But they, of course, they have several evidence, and we, by saying that there is different opinions in this one, and different talk. Al Ibn al-Mudhir, he mentioned a 20 verdict in this matter. So those who said it's 4 days, first of all, they said the distance. They said the Prophet ﷺ, no woman who believe in Allah and the hereafter to travel more than 3 days and more, except that she has a father or her son or her husband or her brother or someone who is mahram. And this is in Imam Muslim in Sahih. And another narration that Al-Bukhari narrated, no woman who believe in Allah and the hereafter to travel 2 days traveling except with a mahram. So he alayhi salatu considered the 2 days traveling and 3 is traveling. So if she traveled less than 2, it's not, she's not required a mahram. So this is where they say that a person can use those traveling. And when it was measured, it's about 80 kilometers. Al-Fawzan said the distance that the person can shorten his prayers, it is like the hadith is 2 days for those who are traveling, walking, because he mentioned the hadith that no woman who believe in Allah and the hereafter to travel, walking of course, without a mahram. And the evidence from this that he alayhi salatu used that 2 days walking, that you need the mahram, which indicate anything below that is not traveling. And when you travel, when you measure it, it's 80 kilometers. So if it is more than 80 kilometers, then you can shorten the prayers and combine, even if Ramadan you could break your fast. And the other, and that was the saying of the Fatwa Committee in Saudi Arabia. This is what people are using as evidence of the time and the distance. So after this, what about the time that you stay? That if you intended to stay, that don't make him a traveler, and he cannot have the rules of shortening or combining the prayers. And we said there's like 4 to 10, 9, 10, 19, and 21. So the majority they say is 4 days. So whomever decided to stay more than 4 days is not traveling anymore. So what about their answer about 19, 10? They said the Prophet ﷺ, we have no evidence that he intended to reside in those incidences. In Mecca, to purify Mecca from the idols, and to purify it from all the idols, he was not restricted with a time, but he stayed for 21. And we say, if the traveler don't know how long he's gonna stay, whether he's gonna travel tomorrow, no matter how long he's gonna stay, then he is still a traveler. But he intended in the beginning to stay which means that he signed a lease for more than 4 days, that he got a car and all of this stuff, and bought more food for more than 4 days. So the Prophet ﷺ was not known that he intended to stay more than 4 days whenever he did the he went to Mecca, when he wanted to prepare the issues of Hajj or the conquering of Mecca. But those who intended to stay before that, he knew what his plans are or his program will be. Like the student, when he sent, he already knew and decided that he's going to reside in that place to get his education, and he traveled in between to his country. This is just for a short vacation. He's not a traveler when he is trying to combine or shorten his prayers. And the dangers of this matter, and to separate those who are sent from the most important thing about their faith. The masjid in these countries are like Noah's Ark, because it brings people to safety. If you bring a student for so many years and there is nothing going to make him want to go to the masjid or to pray in congregation, because he think that it is traveling, he think that if he don't hear the adhan, that he can travel in his house, pray in his house and not to be in congregation. So he will miss all the lectures, all the importance and the reward of being in the masjid, and the importance of supporting his brothers and sisters. He's going to be alone in the society. And remember that the wolf always like to eat or bite or attack the sheep that is staying away. So how could a person not come to Ramadan, not to fast, and to be, and of course he's staying in his house, he has nothing but the TV, and what a replacement between dhikr and TV programs. In general, you are cutting the student from his faith. You separate him from Islam and Muslims, and to put him in the secure climate of faith, where Allah protect him from any trials. In summary, that the majority of scholars from past and present to decide whether it's 4, 10, or 19 and 21, but it is 4 that was all of them thing. But to say someone decide to stay 4 years, 3 years, 6 months, a long time, you're intended. It was a very clear plan. His traveling plans say that his itinerary said that he came the 1st of January and he's going to go back in August. He's gonna stay 8 months from the beginning, and the proof is his itinerary. He knew that he's gonna stay for 8 months. He knows when it's going to start and end. And then he comes to us that, oh, I'm still traveling, I don't know when I'm gonna leave. He should not go to the masjid, and he should not go to Jum'ah or to the people of the grace. No. It's very dangerous. And the majority is called that it's different than this, and I will explain to you in a minute, inshallah, after I mention to you the about the shortening, that it is after 80 kilometers. Also, the time, they have the same fatwa. The question here, there was a question to the verdict people in Saudi Arabia, from people in England, for students or diplomatic missions, and rules like people, and they're staying and they stay different. It's between 1 to 5 years, and there is a lot of questions about whether the rules of traveling can be applied there in shortening the prayers and to fast in Ramadan, and the different opinions, and we need from you to give us the true verdict on this. This is what the questionnaire said. And after the commission in Saudi Arabia, they said that those diplomatic missions and students and those like them and their intention to stay the, the time, it is more than 4 days, then they have no right to enjoy the traveling verdict of shortening or combining or breaking their fast. They have to do their prayer complete without combining the prayers, and to fast Ramadan with the Muslims because they are residents, and with that Allah, we ask Allah to say the success. Wassalatu wassalam ala Muhammad. Another question that was given to them: we are a group of soldiers. Our place in Hajj in Jeddah, and then we go to Mina, and the 5th and 6th of the Hijjah, or before that, and we stay in Mina until after Eid, 1 or 2 days. So how do we pray in those days? Do we pray, combine the prayers? Do we shorten it? Or do we continue the prayers? The answer was, if you knew that your residing in Medina will be more than 4 days, these are not people of Hajj. If you knew that you're going to stay in Mina more than 4 days, then you have to fulfill the prayers. But if you do not know the time, how long you're going to stay, then you can shorten with doing every prayer in its time. And if you combine between the prayers, no problem. And that's if you knew that you can stay more than 4 days or less. This is the commission, the permanent commission of IFTA in Saudi Arabia. So the majority of people before and after, the majority, they say if you stay in more than 4, you pray 4. And it's not like 2 kilometers to say you're traveling, or you stay years in your traveling and think, oh, I'm here, I didn't get no green card or citizenship. No. Consider yourself up traveling? No, you're not. For those who claimed it, from the scholar, they did their best, because those who did their best, they get 2 rewards if they are correct and 1 if they are wrong. But those who came from after them and they knew the difference and they were given different things from the scholars, then he needs to stop where Allah put us and to stop where he knew. We hope that we clarify this issue, inshallah. Inshallah, we'll continue on Thursday. Even though we have said this issue several times, we ask Allah Azza wa Jal to guide us. We do not convict those who are different. We say this is the majority of the scholars, and it is better to follow that. Abdul Malik, who's going to stay for 4 years, he knew that he's going to stay for 4 years, and he even traveled 1 year and 1 month of the year to go back. He knew exactly, and from his itinerary, how long he's going to stay and when he's going to go back. he cannot say that I'm not gonna pray in any place. This is too much. That people are using to make it easy. May Allah make us successful in His glory.
أشهد أن لا إله إلا أنت أستغفرك وأتوب إليك.